everyone, and welcome with us for that architecture chat. So today we have with us Kasun, our managing director. So welcome, Kasun.
Thanks, Thomas. Good to hear.
So today we're gonna go through a topic that we've seen that's coming a lot, and we really want to have your insight on this. So there's a lot of question about you're already in a technical role, but you want to transition to that architecture role. So what could you say to the people that are in that situation?
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is from a technical role, if you're transitioning into an architecture role, there are broader skills you need to sort of get. And these are non-technical stuff. And people call them soft skills, but I don't like calling them soft skills because they're not soft, they're hard. Right? This is about reading the room. It's about
so what you said is like, yes, this is your technical skills, but if you really want to transition to that architecture role, you're going to make sure you have another set of skills. Is
That's
that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell this to a lot of the architects. 20% of your job is the technical part. You got to wear multiple hats, you got to do multiple roles, and you got to understand the environment to be an architect better.
So could you give us an example of those soft skills or those interpersonal skills or whatever we want to call them?
So I'll give you a good example. One is, as an architect, you can come up with the best solution in the world, but you got to be able to sell that solution to the business. The business needs to understand the value. Sometimes your technical solution, the business isn't ready for that. How do you walk them through that? How do you
like some sort of a communication skills, like selling, also understanding people's need, what matters to them, and just bring that back in your advantage to actually sell your solution.
That's right. Yeah, because you gotta understand, you gotta put the eyes from the customer side, from all the broader parties, what they're looking for, and the technical part is your job. You can figure that out. That's your role. Typically you're good at the technical side of things anyway.
Yes.
This is about bringing everybody along the journey.
Okay.
Right?
So technical skill, good communicator. Is there another skill that you think you need to do that transition to an architecture role from a technical role?
So the other one is to be a good storyteller, and typically you do this by good diagrams. You're gonna have good artifacts that tell the story at different levels, to the execs, to the CIO, to the CTOs, to the business stakeholders. You're gonna create a range of documents that can tell the story.
So that deliverable, what we call the deliverable, high quality deliverable, is also about doing that, having a good solution, be able to sell it, but at some point you have to able to produce it in a way that is compelling for everyone to do it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. There's another question I wanted to ask you, because obviously you've been there. So would you be able to share about your personal journey as becoming from a technical role to that architecture and then to that architecture leadership role?
Okay, so I think you probably know I had a very technical background. I was a .NET developer. So for a long period I was doing development work. And then this is where most architects find this. Like if you're going down a technical career path, you're gonna hit a point where, and this is the same thing I had. You're in a fork in a road at some point, deciding whether you want to go down a project manager or a management path, or you're going down a technical path.
That's true.
So, all right. So and then you got to decide whether you want to go down the project management delivery management path, or want to go down the technical path. Now I chose the technical path. Now the technical path leads to becoming an architect. You become a solution architect, enterprise architect, you go on an architecture path. But that leap from a technical developer to the architecture path, that's the hard part, right? Because I'll tell you, because I've had a number of chats at the time with a lot of recruiters at the time. It's like, I said I want to be an architect, and they were like, oh, well, you haven't been an architect for the last 5 years, so it was dead end. So how do I now transition to a point without having done this for 5 years? How do you get to that? So that was one of the biggest challenges. Now, the other thing I had was I had a good mentor. There was I remember in one company, I don't want to say his name, but he's one who changed my view on architecture. So I said I want to become, because he said you look like you want to go down the architecture path. So he was an enterprise architect. We sort of got a meeting room, and he said, okay, let me walk you through what architecture is about. And he sort of walked me through, here's what architects do, here's how you enter it, this is the approach. And he gave me this good 60-minute walkthrough of how to become an architect.
Like a real snapshot of what's the job actually
looks like, and what are the things you need, and how do you transition. So that mentoring and that guidance that helped me to sort of take that next leap was crucial. And I must still keep in touch with him. He knows I don't want to say his name, but I keep in touch with him. But that was a crucial point, because then you sort of understand. You start to understand things that typically, if you're from a technical background, you don't really focus on those things. And these are the broader skill sets you need to know to become a good architect.
So would you say, just to wrap up this one, that if you want to transition from that technical existing technical role to that architecture role, somehow it's good to have some help, either from a mentor, a coach, or either any training or whatever you can bring to speed that up and helps you to really see what it look like, what to actually be an architect, and not do like in that fantasy, right?
Yes, it's good to talk to architects who's been there, done that, because I'll tell you some of the things that I learned the hard way. There are things that I've actually said some things in meetings where I shouldn't have said it. On hindsight, now I was thinking, if somebody told me that you shouldn't do this, it's an easier way to learn. But otherwise, every time you make a mistake, you're actually damaging your career path and you're creating problems. So
that's very true. All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you for giving us some insight, and hopefully, guys, you had some really good insight on how to make that transition from a technical role to an architecture role. If you haven't checked us out, check us the Academy page. Check us our course, coaching. We also do consulting. So reach out to us if you want any question, or are you also, if that resonate with you, let us know. What was your experience to transition into an architecture role? Thank you, and have a great day.